Well, g'day curd nerds. G'day curd nerds. Well, 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 g'day curd nerds and welcome to another Ask the Cheeseman. Welcome one and all. It's lovely to see everybody here today. We have so many people on the chat. It's just great. I love it. This is episode 153. And as always, thank you to new YouTube members Jordan Olsen and Nicola Boland. Thank you very much for your ongoing financial support, and thanks to all the YouTube members who have signed up. Also, thanks to all the patrons. There's no new ones this week, but thanks for all the patrons that support the show financially week on week. It's absolutely lovely to see, and it helps go towards us putting these videos on every week, and of course the cheese making tutorials. Videos this week, there will be one, a top 5 soft cheeses is one I've written a script for, and I'm going to record that today. And of course, I've already written the script. Here it is for the 14 ways with Whey. I've come up with 14 ways, and I'm going to film that as well. So hold me to that, please. On the vlog channel today, there should be a video. Well, I haven't planted them yet, but we're getting our vegetables today. I've got to go to our hardware store. They have a drive-through collection thing they've just started, and yes, I'm going to pick up my vegetable seedlings because I've left it a bit late to plant them, the seeds myself. So we're going to do some vegetable seedlings and do a vlog on that. That should be exciting as well. That's as far as videos go. I'll be making some cheese next weekend, which will be great. I'm looking forward to that. Not sure which one, but any suggestions today would be welcome. I'm trying to make more popular cheeses, but I think I've covered just about every popular cheese that there is. So if you know of a popular cheese that I haven't covered in my video tutorials, then please let me know, and I will try and hunt down a recipe for it and try and create that. Okay, there's lots of g'days to say, so let's say hello to a few people in the chat. So Ambrose, g'day Ambrose, how are you? We've got Manel, g'day Manel, lovely to see you as always, and Bruce, g'day Bruce. Andy, Amir, and Nicola. G'day, Nicola. Nicola's got some pictures in the gallery today. That should be exciting. And I've set my alarm for 8:30, so we don't forget the gallery today. Got Lindsay. G'day, Lindsay. I'll get to your question soon. Joe. G'day, Joe. Cease. G'day, Cease. Scrap Studios. Lindsay Merritt. G'day. How are you, mate? Artie Frog. Lovely to see you. And I'll get to your question soon. Patricia. Lovely to see you. And no problems about featuring your cheese last week. I think I might have another video, a photo in the gallery today as well from you. Planet Zog, g'day mate, how are you? Looks like you're a first time. I haven't seen you in the chat before, that I can remember anyway. We've got Sidan 3D, made cheese bread, bloody marvellous, excellent, well done mate. Diego, g'day Diego from Argentina. We've got some. Have we got some photos? I think we've got some photos from Diego as well, but we'll check those out. Anthony Edwards, Kim Webber, of course, who is the lovely moderator today, and also my wife. Jason, g'day Jason. Brug, g'day mate. And Anthony, who's just retracted his comment, but that's okay. Larry, g'day Larry from Deep South Texas. Lovely to see you, mate. Zabi, g'day mate. How are you? Oh, I can't even pronounce that. Trudes Norb, all the best from Vancouver Island. G'day, mate. Jim, g'day, Jim, and Steve, and who else we got there? Marcelo, Monique, g'day, Monique, lovely to see you. Ardent, and, first time in chat, lovely to see that. Martin, g'day, Martin, and Taco, g'day, Taco. All right, so let's get into some of the questions, shall we? Okay, first question of the day is from Lindsay, and Lindsay says, I tried to make mozzarella cheese and it came out too crumbly. Did I use too much citric acid? If you're trying to make quick mozzarella cheese, it's not really a beginner's cheese. It's, well, I won't say it's difficult to make. When I first started making it, yes, it didn't turn out quite right. Well, I didn't think it was, and then I continued on with the recipe and it turned out perfect, so it was fine. I've actually got well, I think it's a foolproof video anyway. There's a quick mozzarella video. And Kim, if you can put the link up for the quick mozzarella video, that would be absolutely fantastic. And that works every time. I've even made a lactose-free quick mozzarella using my recipe, and that works as well, using lactose-free milk. So yes, if it came out crumbly, it's either not enough acid or too much acid, would be the problem. It's got a fairly narrow acid range when you can stretch it. And if it was a true mozzarella, then you didn't wait until the pH got down to, it's between 5.3 and 5 is the correct pH it should be at before you begin to heat up the curds and stretch it. I hope that answers your question, Lindsay. Joe says, what kind of cheese do you make with the tiny moulds you had in the photo of your counter? What kind of cheese do you make in the tiny moulds you had in the photo? Oh, okay, at the start of the show. Yeah, those cheeses were the Neufchâtel. So Kim, if you can pop up the link for the Neufchâtel for Joe, that would help him out. No problems at all. C says, hi Gavin and Kim, have you ever made an aged jack? No, I haven't. Probably the oldest pepper jack or jack, Monterey jack cheese that I've made is about 6 months old. And I find the recipe that I use, they tend to go crumbly if they're any older than that. Too much acid. So, yeah, I don't usually make them, I don't usually mature them longer than that. Okay. Scrap Studio says, I'm new. I love the vids. Keep it up. Thanks very much, mate. Artie Frog says, any Sous Vide videos in the close future? Yeah, so next weekend in my filming schedule, as well as the cheese that I'm going to make, which is unknown at this stage, I will be featuring, I'll be making a separate video at the same time. Trust me to try to make 2 videos at once. I think I've done it before, but yeah, we'll give it a go on how to use the sous vide as well. I've got a container that's large enough to put the water in, which I heat with the sous vide. I'm going to use hot tap water to start with to get the temperature up, so the sous vide doesn't have to do all the work to heat the water up. And then I'm going to put my pot of milk in it that I pre-warmed. And then I'll use the sous vide to just keep it at the target temperature. I won't use it to go all the way through the process and heat it all the way up, because I think that'll be too much strain, and the time, it would be quite time consuming to wait for that little heating element to heat the milk up all the way. So I'm going to help it along and then just let it sit there, do its thing, and make it set it at the right temperature and let it do its thing. So yes, but Artie Frog, good question. Yes, there will be one of those very soon. Manel says, when I add pesto into a queso fresco, can I get a good block without any cracking? I wouldn't add too much pesto, because remember, queso fresco is a very fresh cheese. It can be eaten, I think it's within 6 hours of making it. So yeah, it's a pressed cheese. Has a little bit of starter culture in it. I'd put a teaspoon in of the pesto. I think that'll be enough. And then press it as hard as you possibly can. I think there's a few pressings to go in that cheese, in that recipe. So on the last press it quite hard and firm to get it to knit all together. If not, it'll be a fairly nice fresh cheese anyway if it falls apart. So experiment and give it a go. All right, next question is from Brug, and Brug says, hi Gavin, greetings from New Jersey, I think that's how you say it. And question, why do my blue cheeses turn grey pretty quickly? Aged at 50 Fahrenheit, which is about 10 degrees Celsius, with high humidity inside a plastic container. Blue cheeses do tend to go grey on the outside. That the blue, when it comes in contact with oxygen, does that. You'll find that inside, if you've pierced it and the conditions are right for the blue mold development, then you will find that yes, it'll be bluish, bluey green inside, but on the outside, yeah, it does turn to turn a dark, washed out grey blue colour. So yeah, blue cheeses aren't always blue. That's the bit you scrape off if you don't want to eat it. Yes, they do turn blue on the outside fairly quickly. Within, usually it starts at about day 5, and then by day 10, it's usually covered entirely in the blue-grey mould. And I hope that answers your question. Yes, that is normal. Now, just make sure, because the Penicillium roqueforti needs oxygen to develop. So make sure that when you turn the cheese over, as you need to do, as per the recipe, and just make sure that you wipe out the box. And by doing that, you're actually getting rid of any of the carbon dioxide and possibly any ammonia buildup that the Penicillium roqueforti creates. And you've got a fresh batch of oxygen in there when you turn the cheese. So try that. Patricia has a question. Could be. I'm quarantined for 14 days due to travel and will definitely make cheese while stuck at home if the latest hurricane doesn't kill our power. Sorry to hear, Patricia. Your cheeses, the ones that you sent me photos of, are just amazing. They're so lovely. So hope all that goes well for you and that hurricane kind of misses you. All right, another question from Snoodhorm. I think Snoodhorm. I don't know how to pronounce that. But anyway, hi Gavin. Hope you guys are doing fine. Yeah, we're doing okay. Me and my wife would love if you could put Chabby Chow goat cheese in your video to-do list. I find it a bit hard to get hold of goat's milk at the moment, but I will put that on the list because I actually do have a recipe for that cheese over at littlegreencheese.com. Let me just see if I can find it quickly. I think that's how you spell it. We'll soon find out. Yep, right. So we do have it. I'll go to screen get off. There we go. It's all chaos this morning. Okay, where's my desktop? Here we are. All right, so I do have a recipe for Chabby Chow. I think that's how you pronounce it. There it is. So I'll put the link into the chat and you can have a look at that. But that's the one I'll be making, if that all works well. So there's the link to that, and back to me ears, me face, as the Aussie man says. Right, now I can see what I'm doing. Yeah, so I'll be checking that out, and it's in the list, so that's cool. Alrighty, Jim's just saying blue skies today in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's great. Hopefully all that smoke's gone now. Artie says Fontina. I've already done a Fontina, mate. Kim, can you put the link to Fontina into the chat for Artie Frog? Marcelo says hello from Buenos Aires. G'day, Marcelo. Lovely to see you. Kim's working away there. It's gone crazy. Chat's gone crazy. Just missed it. All right, there we go. Martin says, hi Gavin, I have made some camembert, but it is being matured in the fridge at 5 degrees. It is finally 14 days in, starting to get its white bloom, but it is not complete yet. Will it be okay, just slow? Yes, it will be. Same thing happened to me recently when I made the Neufchâtel. It took nearly 21 days, about 21 days to get a complete coverage And I didn't wrap them because you don't wrap that style of cheese. You can if you want, but I didn't in my example. But yeah, as soon as it gets complete coverage, then throw some micro perforator paper over it to help it mature further. But yeah, it will take a lot longer. You're talking about a month, nearly a month, 4 weeks longer to get the same result as you would if you matured it at, say, between 7 and 10 degrees. But you may not get the bane of all camembert makers, and that's a runaway proteolysis, which makes it go runny on the outside and then still have a chalky paste in the middle, which some people like, though that's okay. Planet Zog says, do you have a recipe for the good old Danish blue? I've been trying to find one, but so far no luck. I'll put it on the list. I'm not sure. I might have one. I've got lots and lots of recipes in many, many books. You can see all the books over there and down there and all that. But I'll have a look. I'll have a bit of a scour through that and see if I can come up with a recipe for Danish blue. If it's something like the Castello blue that I had on, I think when I did the, what was it? The Cheese a Day Challenge. Yeah, that's what it was. Which there is a video for, and Kim, here's another video for you if you can find the Danish blue, or can't remember what it was, but it was on the Cheese a Day Challenge. Yeah, pop that link up, that would be fantastic. Okay, Tim says hi, g'day Tim. Ebony Oxygen says hello. Mant says, and g'day, of course, to the Kurds of Mesophilia. I like that play on words, it's very good. Corey's checking in from Massachusetts. Eric says, firstly, wishing your wife the best. Love from Iowa, thanks mate. Ruben says, what is the best way to brine mozzarella? How can I keep it for a few days in my fridge without drying out? If you're talking about a quick mozzarella, then no, you can't really brine it. It doesn't keep very long either. Reasons it's quick because not only is it quick to make, you've got to eat it pretty quick too. I find that really after about day one, day two maybe, it starts to flatten in whatever container you put it in. It doesn't hold its shape at all. So it's very hard. The best way to do it is just freeze it. I found with that quick mozzarella, you can freeze it because freezing is the only way you can actually grate that cheese as well, unless you grate it straight away after you've made it. So hope that helps, Ruben. Corey says, I'm from Maryland, but I'm an MA native. MA, Massachusetts, maybe? Not sure. Don't have abbreviations, state abbreviations. I don't know them all because I don't live there. We have our own state abbreviations here in Australia. Ebony Oxygen says, what kind of cheese is good for cheese coffee or cheese in hot chocolate? Oh, there's a Finnish cheese actually that I cannot pronounce. It starts with an L. It's got a lot of J's in it. But it's called Finnish coffee cheese, if I remember rightly. And I actually do have not a video for it, but I have a recipe. And we've got our first super chat of the day, and this is from Jim Jackson. Thank you so much, Jim, for your kind $10 super chat. And Jim says, greeting King Gavin and Queen Kim. It's a pleasure to kneel at your feet and learn. Sending this as a super chat so you'll read it before you end. Thank you, mate. I do appreciate that. Okay, back to the questions again. Yeah. Nicola says, he's replying back to Martin and says, I think so. It's taken a lot more time than normal. My camembert attempts have been mostly like that. Yeah, Nicola's quite a good cheese maker, so his answers are very good. Nikki says, because of your videos now, my husband and I got into making cheese. He proposed using a cheese board after making goat's cheese together. Love your videos. Oh, hang on. He proposed using a cheese board after making goat's cheese together. Love your videos. Thanks, Nikki. Appreciate it. All right, next one. Sadie says Tête de Moine monk's head, which is very popular in France. It is eaten using a special tool or by scraping the surface with a flat-bladed knife. Oh, I've seen it. It's got a little windy handle thing on it. I remember that. Don't know if I got a recipe, but I'll look it up. But thanks for the suggestion. Let me just write that down. We'll have a look, see that. Kim's put up the link for Neufchâtel. Patricia says, hit that thumbs up button. Yes, please, if you could, that would be lovely. You've got 55 people watching at the moment. And I have 31 likes, but hit the button if you like the video and all the other videos as well. Thank you, Patricia, appreciate it. Diego says, I've seen that some people add calcium and vinegar to the brining solution. Your thoughts on this? My thoughts on this are yes, that's what I do. So when I make a brine solution, and Kim, I know you're busy there, but if you can find the brining video that I made, you can pop that up for Diego. I do put a little bit of calcium chloride into the brine solution, and I also put a little bit of vinegar as well. I find that stops the cheese from going slimy due to an calcium ion exchange. If you've got a bit of calcium in the brine solution already, the cheese doesn't tend to exchange calcium ions with the sodium chloride brine solution. So yeah, that prevents the sliminess. So you can try that out. It works. I attest to it because so many times have I forgotten to put it in, pop my cheese in, and it turned out slimy. Especially things like feta is probably one of the worst offenders. The other cheeses, the hard pressed cheeses, don't normally tend to go slimy if you kind of forget those two ingredients in your brine, but feta definitely, it always wants to go slimy unless you add those two things. Okay, Doctor Who, I think it's Doctor Who, K. How did I get into making cheese? Very long story, but if you have a look at my book, Ask the Cheese, no, not Ask the Cheeseman, that's me. What's it called? Keep Calm and Make Cheese. The Beginner's Guide to Cheese Making Home. There's a whole chapter on how I got into making cheese. Joe says, thanks to Kim and Gavin. Thank you very much, Joe. Nige, I think that's how you say it, Nige. How can I make the most sour yogurt? Oh, yes. All right. So if you're going to make a really sour yogurt, you get there's a few different types of yogurt culture. There's a probiotic, which will make it sourish culture, which we actually sell in our shop. There's also a tangy yogurt culture, which has this Lactobacillus lactis bulgaris, which is a fast acidifying yogurt culture, and that will make your yogurt very sour indeed. The longer you leave it, obviously, in the fermenting pot, then the more sour it gets, especially after it's become solid. But the acid will get down to about 4.3 pH. So yeah, so the different types of starter cultures for a thick and creamy sort of yogurt, and a sour, more sour, tangy yogurt. Okay. Ebony says, what's the best kind of cheese for a salsa queso mix? A liquidy sort of cheese you get. I've made a video on how to make it's like a cheese sauce, but it's mainly all cheese. But I added just a little bit less water than you would normally to make this thing called an American cheese. And I made a video. Kim, if you can find the link to the American cheese, that would be great. And if you add a little bit more water during the process with your sodium citrate, which is the emulsifier, then you'll find that will go a long way towards making it very runny. All right, we've got another super chat here from Nicola. G'day, Nicola. Thanks for the 666 check something. Not sure what the K is. Krona maybe? Not sure, mate. But thank you so much. I'm not sure how much it is, but it looks like a lot. And you just felt like sending something your way. Thank you, Nicola. I appreciate it a lot. Okay, moving right along. Martin says, when a recipe calls for aromatic mesophilic culture, is this always Floridanica? Are there, or are there different types? The main strains of culture within Floridanica, there's 4 of them, and most aromatic mesophilics will have these 4 strains in varying levels. Floridanica is, it's the main one. It's just a brand name by C.H.R. Hansen. But yeah, aromatic mesophilics are normally, Floridanica. There are other. There's another aromatic that I use, which is by Sacco, which comes up with some good results as well, and that's MO36R, which is a soft cheese culture as well. That works quite well. Arent, I think that's how you say it, Arent Armstrong, says, for beginners, what cheese is good to start making first? There's a list, and don't know, yes, Kim's put the list up already, so there are some beginner cheeses to make, so just check out those videos, Aaron. Martin says, and last question for the day, did you ever do a Reblashon? No, I haven't. I tried. I filmed it. It didn't work, so I didn't release it. So, yeah, I'll put that on the list. I don't know if I'll tackle that. It's a very stinky cheese. And I'm trying to avoid stinky cheeses at the moment. Trying to clean out my cheese fridge. Where is it? Reblashon, I am putting on the list, but we'll see. Yes, Nicola's made a Reblashon. I think I've got a photo, maybe not. I'm not sure. All right, Mute says, if I can find it, I've just missed it again. Where is it? Mute says, do you feel confident that you could taste a cheese and have an idea on how to recreate the flavour on taste alone? Yeah, so the cheeses fall into a few styles, and if you do, I've had enough cheese now, I think, and my belly shows it, but that I could probably have a pretty good go at remaking a cheese in the same style. I won't say it's going to end up with the same flavour, because artisan cheesemakers, when they make their cheeses, they tend to lock a few secrets away, as they do. I share everything with you, curd nerds, but yeah, they do tend to lock a few secrets away, so it may be very difficult to reproduce the exact flavour. But if I tasted a cheese, I'd have a fair idea of what style it is. And yeah, in the amount of cheeses I've made, I suppose I'd be able to dig up a recipe on how to make that. But yeah, I'm not doing a blind taste test for anybody. Probably get it all wrong. Anyway, yeah. Let's have a look. Sean says, g'day mate, g'day all. I made a Cheshire last weekend, and when I was doing the final press, it looked like oil or grease was coming out rather than whey. I was pressing it at 130, is that pounds? Is that supposed to happen? Not to my knowledge. I didn't get the same experience. So, not sure what's going on. You may have had fairly high fat milk, I would think. So, not sure. I've only seen oil weep out of cheese if it's left at room temperature, and that room temperature is really hot. So I'm talking over 30 degrees Celsius. And then it starts to weep oil. Cheeses that do tend to do that are Parmesan and Romano style. Oh, there we go. There's my alarm for the cheese gallery. But yeah, Parmesan and Romano, if left at room temperature, tend to, and some cheddars as well, will seep oil out of them if they get too hot. Yeah, I don't know how hot it was when you were pressing your cheese, but usually it's only after they've been matured for a while, Sean. So no, I haven't seen that before. Okay, so the gallery time, and let's pull up the first photo if we can. And I haven't seen Ruth on the chat today, unless she's down the bottom. Ruth, where are you? No Ruth today, which is a shame because I've got one of her cheeses. Let's just slip over to the desktop. So, very first cheese today is from Ruth. And Ruth made an Appalenza. Hang on, I'll just get that in a sec. Patricia's come up with a super chat saying it is indeed. Oops, wrong camera. Gav, what are you doing? Let's just get on the right one. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Patricia. I appreciate it. There's your little cheesy thing as well. So here we are, and hopefully you can see my pointer as well. So we've got it's called, Appenzeller. That's how you pronounce it, Appenzeller. And it's an Alpine style cheese that you wash with some wine, usually white wine, with some herbs. And all the recipes I've got, the herbs are nondescript. It just says spices and herbs. But I think if you do a bit of research, you probably find that out. But anyway, fantastic cheese by Ruth. Let's just go to the next one. The next one is from Diego. And this is Diego's Bel Paese. And he's got a bit of a spiel here, which I'll read out. Diego says, I sanitised all my equipment, cleaned hands often, and followed your recipe. Everything looked great. I cleaned the cheese with brine every 2 to 3 days. On week 2.5, some white mould started to bloom, and by week 4, when we opened the cheese, the white had bloomed, but practically no other mould was present. Very little blue, which I cleaned with brine. And after a few days, the cheese turned out to what you see in the picture. Very soft inside, white rind on the outside, no contamination with brie in the fridge, as I do not have I have not had that kind of cheese for years. Tonight I'm making another Bel Paese and see how it goes. I'll definitely not be disappointed if it turns out the same. It had been very successful with the family, children included, and it obviously melts very well. Thank you so much, Diego, and I think Diego's in the chat. It looks very nice, but yeah, if you could replicate that, then you're on a winner. Don't know how you did it, especially if you didn't add any Penicillium candidum to the Bel Paese. It's normally supposed to be a firm cheese, but that does look quite yummy, especially the creaminess of the outer layer. Anyway, next cheese. Oh, this is Diego's cottage cheese as well. He's just sent this in. Looks lovely, which is something I have never been able to make. Anyway, besides, moving right along, we've got Nicola. Nicola, who just sent a super chat in before, has a list of cheeses. Now, let me just have a look. Did I get these in the right order? He's got a bit more description here. So this cheese that you see on the screen is a garlic and chives Gouda. My first Gouda, still aging, but smells very promising. Oh, that looks lovely. I love the chives. They look so nice. This cheese is a Ubracchio, which is a wine-soaked cheese. It says nothing too special about this one, but I aged it for 5 months and it tasted absolutely amazing. That does look fantastic. The next cheese he's got is beer-washed Monastic cheese. Said it didn't go very soft. He probably over-dried the curds, but it tastes great. And he's already making another batch, which is lovely. And that does look nice. It looks very similar to my probably the Gruyere that I made, or the I think Piora was the other cheese that had similar style. Looks very similar, the rind. All right, this next one is a Port Salut Tete de Moine. Once again, probably overdried the curds, so it turned into a semi-hard cheese, but at least he had an excuse to try his new Grioli. I think that's how you say it, which is, I think, what somebody mentioned before. It's a little handle thing. You get little slivers of cheese, and it absolutely looks lovely, and you get the full essence, the full flavour of the cheese when you do this. Okay, last but not least, this is a wild molds cheese. He was trying to make a Geotrichum ripened cheese, but it picked up Penicillium candidum and Rote 40 pretty soon. Decided to let it grow wild. The taste was excellent. And that's in the shape of a Neufchâtel, I think. But yeah, it looks nice. If it tasted nice, go for it. Lovely. All right, next one. This is his final one. There's no description. This is his Monastic beer washed one. He's tried again. Looks like it's turning out all right and going a little bit softer. This one's from Patricia, who's in the chat today. And this is her Jarlsberg that she made. Lovely eye development. And by all reports, she tells me that it turned out amazing and it tasted amazing. Who we got? We got Paul Kelsey, who has whipped up a pepper jack, and not only has done that, he's also done some marbling as well. Looks like he's used 2 batches of curd to get that marbling effect, and he's used some hot chilies there to make that cheese. That looks amazing. All right, next one, and this is Ruth. She actually got a custom-made press by Steve Benz, who also makes the curd harps, where there's a link in the description of this video below. And that looks pretty good. She's done some calculations to get the right amount of pressing, and using a very big, by the looks of that looks like the 3 kilo Lauder mold that they sent me that I haven't used yet. I've got to press that big, so that's probably why I haven't. But yeah, that looks amazing, and that's in the style of what's called a Dutch press. Uses a lever to apply weight, and the further you put the weights along, the higher the pressure per square inch is going to be onto the cheese itself. Now, is that the end? Yes, that's the end of the gallery. Thank you to everybody who sent in pictures for the gallery. Very impressive. I'm always impressed by everybody's cheese photos they send in. Now, if you want to send a photo to the gallery, you can find the email address to send it to in the About page of the channel. So you go to the channel, Gavin Weber, go to the channel page, and you'll see an About tab. Hit the About, and there's an email address, and you can send me your cheese photographs for the gallery, and I will feature those in next week's Ask the Cheeseman at about half past the hour. Half past the hour. That's it. Anyway, so we'll moving right along. Oh, wonderful cheeses. Let's have a look. Yeah. Joe has a question. He says, if I want to improvise on a recipe and add dried fruit, herbs or seeds, do I need to alter anything about the recipe to compensate? Yes. Not add anything on top of those ingredients, but what I tend to do is I tend to boil those ingredients. So if you're going to add things like chili flakes, then I boil them first with a half a cup of water. I do the same with anything else. So if I'm going to add things like fennel seeds or caraway or what's the other seed that normally goes in? Yeah, I think they're the main ones. Cumin seeds is the other one for Kaminikas. I always boil those first, and that's to kill off any wild yeasts or anything that may be lurking on those dried herbs or seeds. And same for dried fruit. I'll replump them up a little bit in some boiling water, boil them for about 5 minutes to kill off any bacteria and get rid of any sulfates that may be on them as well, which may damage the cheese during the maturation process. Sulfur tends to inhibit bacterial activity, which is why they put sulfur on dried fruit, usually before they dried out. Okay. Bra Moment says, do you make provolone? Yes, indeed. Kim's put a provolone link up there. Steve says, my Gruyere is getting an orange smear on the outside and a bit of ammonia smell after aging for 6 months. Can I clean it up with brine and vinegar? Indeed you can, Steve. And I highly recommend you do that as soon as possible, because as soon as that Brevibacterial linens takes over, it kind of changes the flavour of the cheese. The surface of the Gruyere should be kind of a little bit grey or brown in colour. It tends to do that. The ammonia is obviously coming from the Brevibacterial linens, which is the orange stuff, so wipe it off, and I would let it air dry for a day as well. And if you could, once it's dry, touch dry again, I would either vacuum pack it or wax the cheese, because it's probably got a fairly good rind by now anyway, especially after 6 months. And usually after 6 months it's ready to eat anyway, so yeah, wipe it off. And if you want to age it any longer, then yeah, get rid of that oxygen, exclude the oxygen, so the Brevibacterial linens doesn't grow on it anymore. Anyway, Martin says, is the brine recipe for wiping down a bel paese just water and salt, or should it include calcium chloride and vinegar too? Good question, Martin. No, I just tend to make a simple salt solution, simple brine solution, which is a cup of cool boiled tap water. Doesn't have to be non-chlorinated, but as long as it's been boiled and then cooled down, of course. And then I put in a tablespoon of salt. So that's about, how many grams? About 20 grams of salt. It's a fair bit. And that's it. And then dissolve it in that, and then wipe your cheese over with that. And that's what I do for most washed rind cheeses, or any cheeses that I want to get rid of any mould on the surface of. If the mould's particularly stubborn, then I'll add a little bit, probably a teaspoon of vinegar to that, so it makes it quite acidic, to that simple brine solution. And yeah, and that gets rid of the mould and stops it coming back for at least a week anyway. Usually if you start getting mould on the bel paese, it's a little bit too damp. I found that when I made the bel paese a couple of times, it tends to be a little bit tacky as it matures, and that's really wild yeasts, so I've read. And that makes that tackiness. But as long as it stays at that tacky stage, I think I did have to wash it down twice because a little bit of blue mould started to grow, because it's quite a moist cheese. Yeah, and that got rid of it straight away, the simple brine solution. Now Will says, do you like a bit of gorgonzola? Indeed I do. Sounds like a line straight out of the cheese skit from Monty Python. Let me have a look. More questions. Where are we? Joe has a question. Hi Gavin, what is the French cheese you can get in Kohl's? The Dolphin double cream cheese, and how do you make it? Oh, a very special cheese indeed. Kim, I actually made a video in the Cheese a Day challenge about the Dolphin, and my thoughts on that cheese. How I make it? Ooh, I would make it in the style of, there's a double brie recipe that I made, which has a lot of cream added to it. I would put it in some very small little moulds and let it mature that way, because it needs to be fairly compact, unlike a brie, which is spread and quite flat. But yeah, I would just use my normal camembert recipe. I'd use the double brie recipe that I've got on the video, and I would put it into smaller moulds, and you would get something similar to the Dolphin double cream cheese. Anyway, I hope Kim finds that link for the Dolphin. It was in the Cheese a Day challenge, honey. It was the most expensive cheese in the Cheese a Day challenge. Anyway, C says, could you please put the address for sending pictures of the cheese? Yes, it's in the About tab. There's a little button that says send an email to Gavin. So yeah. Okay. Tim says, I've made dozens, I made dozen cheddars, or dozens of cheddars, and they've all turned out like stinky feet and were inedible. What causes this? The stinky feet smell is something known as Brevibacteria linens. It's an orange mould that causes an ammonia smell, really bad ammonia smell, and it sounds like you've got an infection. So what I would suggest, and hopefully you've done this, Tim, is to, once your cheddars are touch dry, I would wax them straight away, and they won't get infected by Brevibacteria linens. That's what I think it might be done. Nicholas says, exactly, I've had cheeses sweating at room temperature being over 28. Indeed. Will says, do you like a bit of Dairy Lee? I love a bit of Dunkirk me. Dairy Lee. No, don't like processed cheeses. Alice says, hello Mr. Weber, hope you're having a lovely day today. Your videos are so cool. Thank you very much, Alice. Anita says, I love making and eating the Bel Paese. Yeah, I think it's a great cheese for beginners, especially in the fridge. So I think it's very cool. We've got a new super chat coming up right now. There it is. There's the Curd Nerd sign going off. It's from Karen. Thank you, Karen, for your kind $5 super chat. It says, do you have a video for the Appenzeller that Ruth made? Sorry about my spelling. No, I don't. But that does sound like a good cheese to try and make. I will get in contact with Ruth and find which recipe she used and see if I can replicate it, because that cheese looked quite amazing. So I will try that, Karen. Thank you for that prompt. So I'll put contact Ruth. Ruth, if you're watching the replay, I'd love it if you reached out with the recipe, please. Okay. David said, I just found your channel today. I love it. Thanks, David. Alrighty. Gee, that took a little bit of time for the... Will Lynch put up a super chat as well for 99p. Thank you, Will. I appreciate that. And he's got a funny face there, an emoji. Thank you so much, Will, for your kind donation. That 99p turns out to be like $600 Australian. Just joking. I'm not sure how much it is. I think it's about $2, $3. That's fantastic. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. Alrighty. Now, let me just go past all these. Where's the question? Stinky feet, Dairy Lee. There was another question here somewhere. Martin says, these cheeses look amazing, folks. Inspiring. I'm going to have to send in some snaps of my funky fromage for you to all drool at. Please do, Martin. I'd love some more photos. It's cool. Diego says, I can't find cheese wax around Buenos Aires. I've been offered beeswax. Would that be okay? Yeah, at a pinch, Diego, beeswax, if you can get some of that, melt it down, then yeah, it will be fine. So just make sure that when you melt it down, it gets to at least 75 Celsius, and that'll kill off any bacteria or molds that may be in the cheese before you coat your cheese with it. Beeswax tends to be a little bit brittle as well, so just be careful when you're handling it, that you don't get any cracks in the cheese. So just when you turn it weekly, just inspect it as well, and you should be good. Imran says, hi, Mr. Gavin. I love and respect from Bahrain. Thanks very much, Imran. He says, how's your wife? She's doing all right. Yep, she says she is. That's great. Windwolf Alpha says he's come late to the party, but he's glad to be here. Thanks, mate. G'day, how are you? Megan McIntyre says, making Wensley's ale today. Can I use half cranberries and half apricots? And do I boil the fruit? Good question, and I think I've answered it just before. Yes, I would indeed boil those fruits for a little bit of time. About 5 minutes in about half a cup of water. Tip away the water if you don't want too much flavour in the cheese. Some people put the water into the cheese, into the milk, but got to let it cool down first. Don't want to put it in there boiling hot. Okay. Charlie, g'day Charlie. Welcome to the stream. A little bit late, mate, but that's great. Lovely to see you. I'm nearly at the end. Hokuto Hokuto, I think it says that. The Cheeseman, he says. G'day, mate. Lovely to see you. Steve says, sorry I'm late. Typically I watch the catch-up later. It's lovely to see you here, Steve. Wimwoff Alpha says, this live stream so cheesy it should give a rat lactose intolerance. Indeed. Isaac says, any recommendations for a cheese, a nice salty cheese for pasta? Oh, yes indeed. And it took a long time to make, so be prepared for the long haul there, Isaac. And that is the Pecorino Romano. And Kim, if you can put up the link for Pecorino Romano for Isaac, it took it didn't take 2.5 years to mature. I actually did a taste test on it after about 6 months. Or was it 12 months? But I let it mature for 2.5 years, and it was salty. It had flavour. It was bursting with flavour for pasta, and we did use it in I think it was a mushroom risotto, and my goodness, the flavour was just amazing. So, yes, any Romano style cheese, I've got a lot of salt in them. They're aged, they're hard, they've got a great aroma. So, yeah, a good real Parmesan, one you make yourself, or even one you buy, the Parmigiano Reggiano. Not that powdered crap in the bloody jar that they make, but really good Parmigiano Reggiano, freshly grated, absolutely fantastic on pasta. That's why they do it. Hisoka says, what cheese takes the longest to make? To make or to mature? A good blue cheese, you'll have it sitting in the kitchen for at least a week, turning it and doing things to it. But they mature quite quickly, so between 6 weeks and 3 months. But longest to mature are the hard Italian cheeses. To get the best flavour out of those cheeses, you really do have to mature them for over a year. So I hope that answers your question. We've got 8 minutes left. Diego's got a question, says, have you used liquid smoke giving a smoked flavour to cheese? Yes, Diego, I have. And Kim, if you can find the link to the liquid smoked flavoured Gouda that I made, and Diego can go and check out that recipe. It works quite well. I think what I would do differently than the video, if you haven't already seen it, which you probably haven't, would be to wipe some of the liquid smoke stuff on the outside of the cheese before I vacuum packed it, to put a little bit more flavour in there, because all I did was put it into the milk to give it that slight smoky flavour. But it was an amazing cheese, so you can try that as well. Okay, Artie Frog said, no, hang on, where are we? Andrew says, hi Gavin, any tips for storing mozzarella in the fridge? When I store it dry in a container in the fridge, it goes flat. And when I store it floating away, it goes slimy. Indeed. So quick mozzarella will always do that. It's not known for staying solid very long. It goes flat after 1 or 2 days. If it's in brine, it will go slimy very quickly because it's a very high moisture content cheese. To stop it from going slimy, add the calcium chloride and the vinegar, as I mentioned earlier on in the stream, and that will stop it going slimy. But really, you should eat it within a couple of days. If you're making quick mozzarella, that's why it's so quick to make. Artie Frog says, have I ever used the leftover whey to make a hard cheese? I saw a video where they made a Tom cheese made from leftover whey. I have used whey to make a hard cheese, and that was a ricotta salata, which is the typical sort of cheese you'll get. So make the ricotta obviously out of the way, and then press it and salt it heavily, and it does have quite a nice flavour. You'd be very surprised. So yeah, give that a go. There is a link somewhere, but she hasn't given me the wrap up yet, so we're still going. But Kim, if you could put the link to the ricotta salata, the link, I think it was the one I made with sheep's milk, the Pecorino ricotta salata, could be that. Anyway. Toby says, hey Gav, glad you and Kim are well. What's the longest aging process you've done so far? Have you tried the cheese yet? Yes, in fact, Toby, I think I just answered it. It was the Pecorino Romano. 2.5 years was the longest I've aged a cheese. In fact, I should check my cheese fridge out because there are quite a few half wheels of cheese that I've vacuum packed and forgotten about at the back of it. So there may be some that are quite old in there as well. So I should get those out and start doing some taste tests, I suppose. But yeah, 2.5 years is the oldest that I've matured one so far. Ralph says, evening Gavin, what creates the cracks during maturing? Usually it means that the curds were too dry during pressing or during the cheese making process. They dry out, and what happens is the soft cheese inside tries to expand. Used for some reason, sometimes it's because you've used an aromatic mesophilic culture, and it tries to push its way out, and the surface of the cheese is dried so quickly that it will just crack. It's got nowhere to go. It doesn't expand. So yeah, that's what happens. Diego says, thanks for replying to all my questions. Have a great week. Thanks, mate. Okay, 1 or 2 left. What time is it? We've got 4 minutes to go. Kim's actually given me the wind up. Megan says, thanks for answering the questions. If I make Wensleydale today, will it be ready for Christmas? Yes, it will. So get on to that, Megan, and enjoy your cheese making today. Patricia says, looking forward to Wheys with Whey, Gavin. I used it as an ingredient for soup, hot cereals, waffles, almost anything where I would otherwise use water. I've got a few of those suggestions in there, Patricia, but thanks very much. Yes, I'll get that made. Okay, and Kim's giving me the wind-up, which is about normal this time of the day. So if you want to support the channel, pop over to Patreon using that link there. If you want to buy any merch, like cool cups and all the stuff down on the merch shelf, then you can go through to teespring.com/stores/CheesemanTV. And you can support the show that way if you want to get some cool merch. In fact, I've got a very old, this is quite faded, but this is at the merch store. Whoop. Certified Curd Nerd, you can get one of those as well if you want. But yeah, there's lots of different designs there at the merch store. But yeah, thanks everybody. If you're living in Australia, then you can do no better to pick up your cheese making supplies over at littlegreenworkshops.com. Got a big cheese making section. We can't ship internationally at the moment, which is a bit of a shame, but we have all the cheese making supplies and kits and stuff that you need for your cheese making journey or adventure or whatever you want to call it. But anyway, thanks for watching, Curd Nerds, and we will see you next week, same time, on a Sunday morning at 8 a.m. our time, which kind of suits most time zones. Not so good for Europe, but anyway. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you next time.